Hey guys, and welcome back. Today we're going to be doing something a little different than normal. I'm doing this on Monday, which I'm going to be putting up experimental videos, or maybe just videos that I don't know where to put them. Because I'm going to try for doing videos Monday through Friday, but I have to find videos that you guys actually like. So I'm going to go into some neckbeard stories. Because I personally like watching neckbeard stories. They're crazy, they're weird, they're uncomfortable, they make you cringe. Like, I listen to these stories while I'm at work. They're so bad, and it's terrible that I have to have headphones in when I listen to them, and it works that I don't work around actual people, so I can. But if you absolutely like the video, don't forget to leave a like at the end and comment if I can do any better. Comment if you have a suggestion on what I can do differently or what kind of subreddit you want me to read. Share the video around so that other people get to know it, because I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. And I think I'm doing pretty good so far. And like I said, don't forget to subscribe because I'm trying to get to 100. Now let's get started. Our story today comes from Uncommon Nonsense SEM. And their story says ex-military pervert neckbeard. That installs me with confidence. So get your popcorn and your soda, kids, because it's a long one. Before I start this video, I just want to let everybody know that this video does have some references to sexual assault and neckbeards being neckbeards, towering over women and making them feel unsafe and uncomfortable. So if anything like that will make you feel uncomfortable, don't worry, I will not be offended if you leave the video. This is a new thing that I'm trying, and I just had to pick the worst video or the worst story to read first. So again, if you want to leave this video because of all those trigger warnings, plus a few that I honestly haven't even mentioned yet, I will not be upset. You take care of yourself, and I will see you in another video. Hopefully it'll be a lot calmer and more your style. Hi y'all. As a female-bodied, non-binary person, I've had many run-ins with this weird, socially inept, hygiene challenge sort of specimen. Most happened when I was still a minor, which really grosses me out, knowing that they target literal children far more than grown adults. This event, though, happened when I was an adult. I worked as a security guard for a company whose main shtick is hiring mostly veterans after their stint in the military is over, giving them an easier transition from military development to civilian jobs. I am not a veteran. I'm just someone who has worked in security for a long time, so I was hired based on that long experience. It isn't easy to staff the site I'm posted on, as it requires federal government security clearance, sometimes which is costly for the security company to pursue and not always easy for individuals to get, as even some kinds of traffic violations in a person's past can mean they won't qualify. And all criminal violations are an automatic disqualification. Even cannabis possession, even though cannabis is now legal in my country. Gotta love law. Because of this, we're chronically understaffed and getting vacation time off requests is difficult. We end up with some real bottom of the barrel people due to this. And this story is about one of them. I'll call him MilitaryBeard for this story. I love creative beard stories names. They're so funny, and sometimes they tell you everything, and sometimes they're just like, yeah, there was this one time where this thing happened, but it's still cool. I am physically disabled, over 40, and do not fit with the narrow bounds of socially approved beauty standards for women AFAB people. AFAB. So it had thankfully been quite a long time since I last got creeped on. I'm also asexual, and I do not involve myself in conversations about sex at all. So when the conversation took that turn, I was unprepared. I was asked to train the guy who was to be replacing a coworker when he went on a 2-week trip. The guy who came in for that training didn't initially look or smell like a neckbeard. Of course, he had just been discharged from the Canadian military a few months ago, so he still kept to military standards in dress and deportment. He said he had been discharged from the military due to mental health concerns, which I took to mean PTSD. I had worked with many vets during my employment with this company, and a few of them had quite severe PTSD. I had even seen how they reacted to various things and felt for them, and the daily hell they endure. At one point, I had even ended up under a desk with a coworker who was undergoing terrifying flashbacks, hugging him and rocking us gently together as he cried and shook. I have PTSD as well, but mine came from a violent nighttime home break-in and sexual assault about 12 years before, and thankfully mine is under reasonably good control. MilitaryBeard is tall, much taller than me, of medium build, had gray hair, and was dressed about as smartly as our cheap and ugly uniforms permit. Immediately he was very chatty and began revealing very personal things about himself and his poor, long-suffering wife. I am autistic, so it is often difficult for me to figure out social cues, including when comments have crossed the line of social acceptability. MilitaryBeard prattled on, and I was truthfully only half listening until what he was saying went very, very over the line. Like he just pole vaulted Wile E. Coyote style right over that line. One of the things he said was that he'd been drummed out of the military on trumped up charges after a female coworker had forced herself on him. Given that I am a victim of SA myself, I was willing to listen, but the way he described the event, he was the only aggressor, and he had gotten her alone and violently forced himself on her, not the other way around. I know that men can get assaulted too, and I feel for anyone who has been through that kind of attack, regardless of gender, orientation, or expression. But by his own description, he was the one who was the perpetrator, not her. Even so, MilitaryBeard considered himself the only victim and carried a lot of resentment over losing his military position. Unfortunately, MilitaryBeard went on describing the event in excruciating and vulgar detail, even describing his erection and his victim's breasts and private areas. I halted him there and told him I didn't need or want to know anything about the parts of his body that were normally considered private. MilitaryBeard whined about women being so oversensitive nowadays, and that no one was willing to listen to his trauma. What? I told him that I wasn't his therapist and that details about his genitals were inappropriate for work. He got mad and skulked, but that went on for only about a half an hour. He realized that his skulking and silent treatment wasn't bothering me at all. I liked the silence, and soon began blathering on again about his assault and the military's reaction to same. As he was talking, he revealed something I don't think he intended to. MilitaryBeard said that there were other records of complaints against him regarding inappropriate actions with women he was serving with, and when the women he claimed assaulted him put in a complaint, their commanding officers did a formal investigation, determined he was the only assailant, and gave him a dishonorable discharge. Dude, you've got to F up real hard to get dishonorable discharge. It was the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back. Given what I know about how poorly the military handles sexual assault, MilitaryBeard had to have a hell of a nasty and lengthy record. Thankfully, I got through my shift training him after enduring him whining about how women don't belong in the military or in most businesses, how oversensitive modern women were, how much of a bitch/nag his wife was, and how she refused to have sex with him anymore. I don't blame her on that one bit. I'm with her. I wouldn't want to have sex with this man, and I've never even seen him. I had to redirect him back to training often, as he was only interested in telling me stories from his military service. As a cook posted mainly to a base near Ottawa, who never saw active duty in any war zone or area needing peacekeeping forces. He mainly served expensive gourmet meals to various dignitaries visiting royalty and the higher-ups from other countries' governments and military, which always included sexual topics and gross details or complaining about women being too sensitive, women not being attracted to him. Remember, MilitaryBeard is married. That poor woman. Women belonging married and pregnant in the kitchen, and other misogynistic right-wing nincompoopery. Keep her barefoot and pregnant and she'll be happy. Oh my God. My grandmother and I were watching TV one day, and this clip came up of a TV show from like the 50s where this guy's wife was hired into his business. And he told his boss, there has to be a way that we can like get her to leave. If you fire her, she'll be upset, but we have to upset her so much that she'll leave. Next thing you know, she's the working woman at the business calling home, telling her husband that she's going to be home late because she's got all these meetings to take care of while he's cooking, taking care of a baby, barefoot, and in the kitchen. Oh, it was amazing. By the end of that day, I was frazzled, grossed out, overwhelmed, and a bit freaked out. I let my supervisor know the nasty things he said and went home, where my first stop was a hot shower. MilitaryBeard's comments made me feel sullied, contaminated, infected by his filth, and they brought up bad memories of my own past experience with SA. He worked the day shift the next day, putting MilitaryBeard in direct contact with the staff of the business we provided guard services for. Oh boy, what a fustercluck that turned out to be. This guy, this grown-ass 63-year-old creep, who was certainly old enough to know that this is not how any person is supposed to act, began accosting women where he found alone, only women, despite the fact that there were other men around if he actually wanted to talk about sexual assault against men with someone who might understand it more fully, around the building and telling them the same disgusting, very sexually explicit stories he told me. Even worse, he prevented the women from escaping his odious presence by physically blocking doorways and cornering them, looming over them. MilitaryBeard knew exactly what he was doing, and while using the excuse of being an assault victim, he harassed 5 women. MilitaryBeard wasn't manning the front desk, watching the cameras, or doing patrols. He was just walking around the building, hoping to find women working or walking alone so he could harass them. By noon of that same day, the supervisor from our head office had been called by the staff liaison and had made a 2-hour drive to our site to give this creep a very sharp talking to about his inappropriate conduct. We didn't even have anyone else who could take the remainder of the shift, so the supervisor left MilitaryBeard on site. Big mistake. Epic, enormous mistake. You might think MilitaryBeard would have listened, understood that he was making people uncomfortable and offended. Maybe he felt bad about that and pulled his overly large head out of his own rectum for a change. Nope. That would be too much to ask of a neckbeard, I guess. MilitaryBeard doubled down. MilitaryBeard sought out every woman he had spent the morning offending and harassing and demanded to know if they were the ones who had complained. He is a tall man, and apparently he really intruded into their personal space, getting right in their faces while harshly and loudly demanding to know if each one of them had been the one to sell him out. That was a terrifying situation for all of them, as by then everyone knew this creep was unstable and capable of horrible things. Thankfully, our building was not huge, and due to the layout being open concept, the yelling drew coworkers who managed to get the women away from him each time. Again, supervisors and HR were called, but his shift ended and staff went home before much could be done. I came in for the night shift, taking over from MilitaryBeard, and he launched straight into whining about how badly he was being treated at this job site, how no one here supported veterans with mental health issues, not true, and how everyone here hated men. Again, not true. Half our staff are men, and they're all well liked. Maybe it's because they're, what's the word I'm looking for? Likeable. I eventually had to ask him to leave as I needed to go on patrol, and he stayed more than half an hour past the end of his shift. I was so grateful to lock the door behind him, as all the staff had left and we were totally alone, except for the glassy eye of the ever-watching CCTV cameras. I think the fact that we had security cameras watching the building, inside and out, might have been the only reason MilitaryBeard didn't get physical with me. I'd put a large folding knife and my can of pepper spray into my pockets before leaving the car that night, as I didn't trust him at all, despite not knowing about what he'd done that day. I didn't learn about that until my supervisor came in to take over for me the next morning. Still, a lack of staff available to work our site meant that MilitaryBeard was still scheduled to come in for the afternoon-evening shift that day. And apparently, he did the very same thing as he'd done the previous day, skulking and slithering around our building, looking for women working in isolated areas, and either launching straight into vulgar, intensely explicit sexual talk, or whining about how badly done he was by this site and how everyone hated him because he was a victim. Ye gods, the lack of self-awareness is painful. That is, unfortunately, a serious neckbeard trait. Again, head office got called down. Again, the head supervisor made the 2-hour drive to sit down with him. This time, the head of HR and the CEO of our security company came along. And this time, the HR director of the company we're posted at joined them. The company we're posted at gave our security company an ultimatum. Either MilitaryBeard is gone, or our whole security company was going to be kicked off the site. We provided security services to this company for over 50 years without complaint. Needless to say, MilitaryBeard was removed from the site, and we later found out that he was fired. It also later came out that our posting was his 4th job posting since he'd left the military and been hired with us. He'd only been working for our security company for a few months and had already been kicked off 3 other sites. And MilitaryBeard was kicked off those other sites for exactly the same reason. Sexually harassing women using the cover of being a victim of sexual assault himself. What a disgusting, detestable, revolting individual. Truly, I think MilitaryBeard is an active threat to any woman he comes across, and I'm certain that I will one day see his mugshot in the news for committing sexual assaults. I really hope the poor woman he's married to divorces him, but given that I've seen of his behavior, I would put money on her being too cowardly and abused by this wretch to actually do it. MilitaryBeard is the worst sort of predator, the kind who continues to harass and assault women using the cover of being a victim himself, even though he has never really been a victim. I hope a falling meteor lands on his head and knocks out the filth of it. TLDR, new security guard at our job site harasses me and 5 women from the client company staff under the guise of being a sexual assault victim. He was never actually a victim of SA, he was the perpetrator. Well, I am really sorry this happened to you on Common Nonsense, and that is just the absolute worst thing that could happen to a female-bodied person. I'm not going to call this person a woman because, as they said, they are non-binary, so I'm not going to call them female. But female-bodied people whether they're transgender or identify as a different gender, a cross-dresser, whatever, what have you, every time someone seems to be in the female spectrum, a neckbeard thinks, that is mine, I'm going to take it. And it's just the worst feeling in the world when you are on the reciprocating end of that. Lucky for me, I have never been so attractive that a neckbeard felt the need to do that to me. I'm sorry. But anyway, guys, if you like this video, I don't know why you would, go ahead and leave a like down below. If you absolutely have an idea on what I can do better or want another channel from or another page for me to try, go ahead and leave me a comment. Share the video around because then people get to know me more. And don't forget to subscribe because I'm trying to get 100 subscribers by the end of the year. Thanks, guys. Bye!